This week was suspenseful, so I brought out the suspenders. Suspensters. It's Suspender Week. Alright, let's start with trades that happened this week. Oh boy. Alright. Dave trades Jordy Nelson and Jason Witten to Justin for Pierre Garçon and Delaney Walker. I spoke to Dave because the trade surprised me, not because I think it was a terrible trade, but because Dave is such a big Packers fan. I was surprised, he traded away Jordy. Turns out, Dave didn't even mean to accept the trade. He accepted a trade in his other ESPN fantasy league, which I'm in, and it involved DeMarco Murray, I believe. So he thought he just had to re-accept this, like it didn't go through, and he wasn't really looking at it. So, Dave didn't really mean to accept that one. He's a little bummed about that, but such is life, and you make that mistake once, and you definitely won't make that mistake again. Another big trade. Good job, guys. Good job, everybody. We got some trades going. Kirk trades Le'Veon Bell, who he recently got from Jessica, along with Zach Stacy, his 8th round and his 15th round, to Rick for A.J. Green, Antone Smith, Rick's 2nd round, and Rick's 9th round. Now, I'm not sure how long A.J. Green is going to be out, so maybe this benefits Rick. I heard A.J. Green might be back this coming week. The part I don't like about the trade for Rick is that he gets a 15th round for Kirk, from Kirk, excuse me. With our new rules next year, because you can only have 15 guys on a roster, the keepers take place of your essentially 15th round or 0th round. So there is no 15th round, really. So Rick doesn't really get a draft pick from Kirk there. Plus, Zach Stacy has not been doing well very lately, but Rick needed, a win and needed to start winning soon, so it paid off for him this week. But we'll see how it continues to pan out. But I don't know, giving up your 2nd round, that's gutsy. But kudos to Rick for trying to make something happen here. All right, let's look what went down week 7. Cam against Kirk. Cam gets 18 from DeMarco, who's making a strong case for fantasy MVP this year. Cam only got 9 from Jay Cutler and 0 from Alshon Jeffrey, but he still managed to get a 25-point win. I think Kirk's got some good guys in Odell Beckham Jr., Jared Cook, Ruben Randall. Just didn't work out this week, but especially once A.J. Green gets back, I think Kirk's going to have one of the best receiving cores in our league. Justin versus Rick. Rick John, as I mentioned, big game from A.A. Ron Rodgers, Le'Veon Bell, Torrey Smith. I thought at the beginning of the week Justin would get the win, but I also said that Rick's team would start coming around and it would start getting better. And so Rick's score was in the top 5 this week, so good win, Rick. Nate versus Tony. Kirk Cousins proved he's definitely better than RG3 with a solid 1 fantasy point this week. Tough outing for Tony, getting only 51 points total, but Jamal Charles looked good, as well as Greg Olsen. He did pretty well, but Nate had some help from Golden Tate, huge game, so I liked seeing that. So Nate gets the win there. Jessica versus Evan. Evan had a bit of a lead going into Monday night's game, but Jessica was able to get enough production out of Andre Johnson and Antonio Brown, plus Peyton threw up 36 points. Also got the touchdown record, so good for Peyton. That was good to see. Not a great looking win, but it's on the W column. Myself against Micah. This was the matchup of the week last week. I was down 45-97 going into the Sunday night game. This is going to piss Mike off. So I was down 52 points, but I had a huge game from Demaryius Thomas and Ronnie Hillman. They combined to get 50 points. That brought me to within 4 of Micah after Julius Thomas only got like 2 points. And I just had my kicker left. Swisham got it done. He gave me enough to give me the win. So, but that's why it was matchup of the week. We knew it was going to be close. And then Dave versus Tyler. Dave, despite the trade that he didn't really want, he got a big game from Luck and Forte, like always. But Shane Vereen went off for 23 points. I think that was a really good pickup with Ridley going out for the rest of the year. Steamrolled past Tyler, got a 39-point win, so he got the blowout of the week. Okay, who's the bonehead this week? Micah, Jessica, Cam, and myself were all watching the Lions game this week together. We were having some fun deciding who should get the Bonehead of the Week award or title. I guess it's not really an award. At first, I didn't think there would be a lot of candidates, but then we got to talking. Sickinga left Sammy Watkins on the bench, who went off this week. Jessica left Baltimore defense on her bench, but in the end, bad week. But Micah left Ahmad Bradshaw on the bench, even though he scored a touchdown, at least one touchdown, 5 of his last 6 weeks. They were all good candidates for it, but Micah's decision was really the only one that actually cost him the game. So Micah gets the Bonehead of the Week title. How pissed is Micah right now? Let's see where I was right, where I was wrong. I said Dave, Cam, Justin, Nate, Jessica, and myself would all win. So I only got the Justin-Rick matchup wrong. So not bad. Looking at the standings in the East has 25 wins now compared to the West with only 17. Micah is still in first in the West, but Cam and Nate are gunning for him. And with Micah playing Dave this week, who knows what will happen. Think about this, though. Micah has scored 700 points overall, which is only 8 points behind Dave, who's 6-1. Also, Dave, Jessica, Cam, and myself all have win streaks of at least 3 wins. West is terrible. Predictions for this week. Evan against myself. Evan gets LaShawn McCoy back, along with Vincent Jackson. Plus Carson Palmer, he's getting a lot better, doing better every week. But I think Phillip Rivers is going to continue to do well. Demarius is back on track. And I think some of my guys will get back on track that have been struggling. So I give myself the win this week. Tyler against Cam. I think Stafford will do well against Atlanta's defense in England. Or the UK, whatever. It's all the same over there. But Eddie Lacy is really struggling. Des Bryant hasn't scored a touchdown in 2 weeks. And Cam has DeMarco Murray, who is crushing the whole league. So I give Cam the win. That would give him a 3-game winning streak. Kirk against Justin. Tony Romo is against Washington, which is good for Kirk. That's a terrible defense. Plus Doug Baldwin looking good now that Percy Harvin is gone. And I think the New York receivers for Kirk will keep getting better. But Justin has Breeze and Arian Foster, so I'll give Justin the win. Rick against Nate. Rick loses Frank Gore due to a bye this week, and Ebron might not be able to play. And I think Vernon Davis is on a bye. So Rick, his backup is going to be Zach Stacy, who's been doing terrible. So if Rick can get a decent sub for Frank Gore, and a decent tight end, I would probably give Rick the win, but it'll be tough to get those subs. So as of right now, I'm giving Nate the win. Tony against Jessica. Jessica has been on a roll, especially with Peyton killing it. I think Gio will have a bounce back week. I think he'll do well. Plus, Tony doesn't have a solid quarterback, which in this league, you get 6 points per passing touchdown. You definitely need, so I'll give Jessica the win. Micah versus Dave. So Micah gets another matchup of the week. Despite losing 2 in a row, Micah has a good team, and he's up against arguably the best team right now in Dave. As I mentioned, both of those 2 guys have scored the most points. Dave has 708, and Micah has 700 points overall. So it'll be a good game. As of Tuesday morning, when this is being recorded, Micah is projected to win by 4 without even playing a full roster. So that was with 8 guys on his roster. I think it'll be close, but let's see how the matchups look. Russell Wilson versus Andrew Luck. Russell Wilson had a great week last week, but Carolina is going to want to bounce back. Andrew Luck is one of the top fantasy players this year, though, so I give an edge to Andrew Luck unless Russell Wilson can run for 300 yards. Marshawn Lynch versus Matt Forte. Despite Jay Cutler struggling, he's still finding Matt Forte for a lot of receiving yards to go with his rushing yards. Base mode continues to give up some carries, so I give the edge to Matt Forte. Ahmad Bradshaw versus Shane Vereen. I do think Bradshaw will continue scoring touchdowns even though they've mostly been receiving, but with Ridley out, it opens the door up for Shane Vereen. I don't think Vereen will get 23 again, but I do give them the check mark in this matchup. Randall Cobb versus James Jones. Derek Carr looks pretty good, and James Jones is definitely a home run threat, but Randall Cobb is more consistent, and he's got a top 5 quarterback throwing to him, so I give Randall Cobb the go-ahead. Jeremy Maclin versus Pierre Garçon. Maclin is against a good defense, but Pierre Garçon is against the Cowboys, who are doing very well. They're both big play threats, but I'll give the edge to Maclin. Julius Thomas versus Delaney Walker. Delaney has been doing well, especially with young quarterbacks in Tennessee, and Julius Thomas had a bad week, even though Peyton did well. Either way, gotta go with the former basketball player Julius Thomas. Flex spot, Brandon Oliver versus Mike Evans. Brandon Oliver didn't do great last week, but Denver's defensive backs look good, which means San Diego will want to run. I do think Mike Evans will get better each week, but I give the nod this week to Oliver. Cleveland defense versus Green Bay defense. Green Bay is against New Orleans, and the Lions just made Drew Brees look like an average quarterback. But the Packers defense isn't as good as the Lions, and Cleveland is against Oakland, so I give Cleveland the green light. Chandler Catanzaro versus Blair Walsh. This will really depend on which team can finish. If they're scoring touchdowns, it's only 1 point for each kick. I think Minnesota will move the ball well, but won't get a lot of touchdowns, which means solid kicks for Walsh, so I give him the check mark. Looking at the recap, it was close, but I think Micah will get the narrow win, breaking his losing streak and allowing some of us in the East Division to finally catch up to Dave. Okay, one other thing I want to ask everyone. I would like each of your opinions in terms of our keepers for next year. There has been some interest in keeping 2 players next year instead of just 1. This leaves us with 3 options. The first of which is to keep the format the way it is. This allows everyone to keep 1 player on your team, and it doesn't take place of any draft pick. But because we can only have 15 guys on a roster, it's basically like taking the place of your 15th round. The second option is the same thing, but keeping 2 players. They wouldn't take place of any draft pick, but again, because of the roster size, it's basically like keeping 2 players instead of drafting in the 14th and 15th rounds. The last option is everyone gets to keep 1 player at no penalty, and everyone can keep a second player only if they want. If you keep a second player, it takes place of your first round. Otherwise, you just draft the first round. Please go onto the fantasy homepage, and it should be on the right-hand side. It's a little a poll. It's on the right-hand side just above the league messages, and please vote. If you have trouble finding it, or if you have any questions about the proposal that I've just given, please let me know, but please vote this week. That's all I have for this week. Good luck to everybody, except for Evan, because I'm playing you. See you guys later.